Of La Penta. This is WICR.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Sports Vault. I'm your host with the most, Jersey Joe, and I don't even know where to begin today. I mean, you just have so much news that's stacking up. You have the A-Rod situation with the Yankees. You have now, this morning, Little League stripped Chicago of their Team USA championship in Little League Baseball. I mean, it's just unbelievable the amount of stories that are stacking up. You move to the NBA. George Karl apparently going to be taking over the head coaching position for the Kings after the All-Star break. Ray Allen will be deciding on his future after the All-Star break. So much to get to, so little time, but I think you got to start off with the game from last night, Kentucky and LSU, and it's kind of interesting because I really have conflicting opinions on Kentucky. Are they the best team in the country? Yes, but at the end of the day, when I think about it, I don't know if in my gut I can say I believe there's a number one undisputed team in the country. Now, if I had to do it on the air like I am right now, I would say yes, it's Kentucky, but I still am a little worried just because now they're 24-0. You can't take anything away from them. They probably have the best roster of any program right now in college basketball, but they play in an SEC that's not very good. And they've had a lot of close calls against a lot of these SEC teams. Against Ole Miss, against Florida on Saturday, yesterday against LSU. And I'm a little worried because if you put Kentucky right now and you give them a little bit of a tougher schedule, if they play an ACC schedule right now, there's no way that they're 24-0. And I just think when you haven't really played a ton of these top-tier teams like they will run into, I don't know if there's going to be a big upset and they'll lose, and I think that they very well could. Now, they're outstanding. I mean, you just look at they have so much size, and we saw it in the LSU game. We saw it in the Florida game. At the end of the day, their talent and their just better execution just trumps everyone else. I mean, you really saw Willie Cauley-Stein is a monster. You saw in that game the other day when LSU went down there and Kentucky were battling back and forth. When Kentucky had the ball at the end and they came down there, they got a missed shot. Kentucky's just too big. They're going to get big rebounds. Willie Cauley-Stein and Towns are just monsters. They're huge. They just have bigger size than everyone. They're better fundamentally sound than everyone else. And their execution in the last couple minutes of games just usually is enough to get by. But, I mean, you look at the Harrison brothers. They've played well. I mean, they've played well defensively. I just think Kentucky has so many good pieces, and they are the best team. But then at the end of the day, I'm always thinking as well, there's major probability that this team is going to get upset. I just think when you look at Duke, when you look at Virginia, even though every team in college basketball has faults, I think my takeaway from what I've watched this far is there's a lot of very good teams and maybe not necessarily an undisputed number one team. Now, Kentucky is probably number one, but I just think at the end of the day, when you struggle like this in the SEC and you're just getting by, they probably will finish the regular season undefeated, and they probably have I would probably pick them to win it all, but I'm just very, very cautious just because of what I've seen so far. Because they struggle for long stretches, Kentucky. And like I kind of alluded to before, what really gets them over the hump is their execution in the last couple minutes of games is very strong. Just because of how physical they are, how big they are. They just have size that no one else has, and that really lets them control the boards. When they really have to buckle down and control the boards at the end of the games, they do it, and the Harrison brothers have really stepped up in those crucial minutes. So, Kentucky, it's interesting. These last couple weeks of the college basketball season will be very exciting as we move into the tournament. But let's get into some other stuff. Getting into the Little League story, which just kind of took over in the news front this morning. It's interesting because we've seen more and more how kind of cheating scandals have really come into the forefront, and maybe there's some people who won't care about this as much. I'll be honest, I don't really care just because the whole Little League baseball thing, I really never care that much about it. When it's the summertime, it's all about Major League Baseball for me. a little bit of a downtime for sports. It's a good time to catch up on other things. But for the most part, I really could care less about Little League. But I mean, I just think the notion of cheating is the thing that bothers me. Now, there's some people who don't care as much, I mean, about steroids in baseball, or whether it was Deflategate in the NFL or Spygate or whatever you want to call those things. But I just think sports is so difficult because the premise of it is that sports is unscripted entertainment. We watch it because we don't know what's going to happen. I mean, at the end of the day, with regular entertainment, it's all scripted. I mean, when you look at wrestling, it's scripted. We know what's probably going to happen because it's been predetermined. But in sports, nothing has been predetermined. I mean, the notion is that two teams are going to battle it out, and there should be a level playing field. Maybe one team has more talent, but there shouldn't be anything else that separates or gives someone else an unfair advantage. It should just be the rules are in place, go on the field, the best team wins. I think that's what sports has always been, and what it always has been about. And I just think cheating just threatens so much of just the integrity. It doesn't matter what level it is, because we watch sports because we enjoy it. We play sports because we enjoy them. And if we didn't believe that what we were watching was legitimate or we were having a fair chance, no one would care. No one would watch. I mean, and I think that's you've seen it in baseball. The numbers have gone rapidly down. Young people don't watch the game anymore. Even the most hardcore of baseball fans don't watch anymore. And a lot of that is due to the fact that, of course, the game is way too slow. That's probably the biggest reason for young people not watching anymore. But I think that baseball lost the hardcore fans more than anyone, because in baseball, it's always been a sport about its history and its numbers and its connection to our history in this country. And they really just went against everything the sport ever stood for. The numbers and the history just don't mean anything anymore to the fans who hold on to their history more than anyone else. And I think baseball really turned their fans against them with the Barry Bonds and the Mark McGwires and the Alex Rodriguez. And now you see, I mean, look, there's cheating that goes on everywhere at any level. Sometimes it's reported, sometimes it's not. Here it was reported, and I have no remorse. I mean, look, if you cheat, you need to be punished. And this team, their wins are being vacated. That's the way it's got to be. And it's sad because we finally got a great story. I mean, this was a really cool story in the summer when this team won it all. I mean, it meant a lot because of course, this team is Jackie Robinson West, and that name carries so much weight in baseball and sports in general. That name carries so much weight. It means integrity. It means honesty. It means battling through adversity, doing things the right way. And this team did the most absolute complete travesty you could to that name, because, I mean, Jackie Robinson was a guy who just had to battle through so much adversity. He did things the right way. He was an outstanding, one of the best players of all time, one of the most iconic figures, not just in sports history, but in American history, because of the racial barriers he broke. And I just think that this team, now, you don't put as much, I mean, this isn't about the kids. This is about the adults who run these leagues, the coach. It's on the people who kind of, and when you read the story about this, I'm sure it's going to be in the news all day about how they moved the boundaries and they lied about boundaries on maps to get kids from places that they actually weren't from. And so this isn't on the kids. The kids just go out there and play. This is on the coach. This is on anybody who is responsible for this. And it's just sad because youth sports, and it's sad what youth sports has turned into, because it's all about the parents. And I was listening to Mike Francesa the other day, and Mike Mussina, he had him on in his book, and that's pretty much his hypothesis, is that parents have totally ruined youth sports, and it's turned so many people against it. And he's just so anti. He thinks parents should just be a silent supporter. Just go to the game and show up and support. Don't cheer. Don't do anything. Don't talk about it. Just show up and support. And I think that's the best thing you can do, because I think parents make it more about them than it is again about the kids. And you see in a case like this now where it just is turning into a bad situation. and it's taken away all the enjoyment that brought to that team and those parents and everyone, because it will always be marked by controversy. It can never be the same. Staying kind of with that notion, though, is the whole Alex Rodriguez situation, apologizing to the Yankees and driving up here. I was listening to Mike and Mike, and I think Mike Greeny has it perfectly. I mean, A-Rod is close to breaking all these barriers, but he isn't. He's close to breaking Willie Mays' record, but he isn't. He's close to breaking Babe Ruth's record, but he isn't. It doesn't mean anything anymore, and I said it a couple of minutes ago. Baseball is a sport that's always been about the numbers, and the numbers just don't mean anything anymore. They really don't. When you have, and my dad and I have had a lot of conversations about this, and it's very interesting. You go up to any room of sports fans and you ask them, what does the number 714 mean to you? Everybody in that room is most likely going to have an idea. Babe Ruth's home run record. You stay in that same room or even go to another room of sports fans and you say to them, what does the number 755 mean to you? Everybody in that room is probably going to realize Hank Aaron, his home run record. Ask that same room or another room of sports fans, what's Barry Bonds' home run record? I'm sure that room would be a lot more silent. It was even this morning when Greeny was talking, he said 714. He said 755. But then when he went to Barry Bonds, he just said Barry Bonds. He didn't say the number. Now, why is that? Why would everyone from a young age, even for me as a young baseball fan, I always knew two numbers, 714 and 755. I never knew Barry Bonds' numbers. Why is that? And it's because we don't look at the numbers the same way. They're fake. When the steroid issues came up with these McGuires and these Sosas and these A-Rods, their numbers don't mean anything because they're fake. When you cheat, when you do things the wrong way, no one is going to look at it the same way. And it goes back to the first sentence I said on this show. Sports is unscripted entertainment. We watch because we don't know what's going to happen. We want a level playing field. We want fairness. If there's no fairness in sports, why on earth would we watch? We wouldn't, because that's what it stands for. And it just ruined everything. It really has. This whole A-Rod thing, I'll be honest, it's pretty pathetic that he's even become such an issue right now. The Yankees should just pay him his money and tell him to go away. Don't deal with him. It's just going to be a circus. And let's be honest, people are saying, well, maybe they'll keep him because he will be able to contribute. He's 40 years old. You think a 40-year-old who hasn't been able to stay healthy now, well, and who knows what's going to happen. I just think it's such a distraction, and it really shows you the change in what's happened since the great boss has passed on and his sons have taken over. I think George Steinbrenner never in a million years would have let this stay around. He would have just cut the losses, given him his money, and tell him to hit the road. But his sons, I think, are guys who they're a little bit more interested in the money part of it. They don't want to just give him the money to walk away and not get anything back on their investment. And I just think that George Steinbrenner never, ever would have let that get in his way of anything. He would have just told A-Rod to hit the high road because, let's be honest, this Yankees organization, it stands for something. It means something. A-Rod is a guy who I don't want in my uniform. I'm a Yankees fan. I'm a Dodgers fan as well. But I don't want that face representing my uniform. Those pinstripes mean something. Mickey Mantle, Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, Derek Jeter. What do all those guys represent? Doing things the right way. Legends of the game. A-Rod is a clown. He's not a legend of the game. He's a cheater. He will never mean anything to the game of baseball except for cheating and representing what was wrong and what ruined the game of baseball. And I don't want that face anywhere near my lineup. And let's be honest, the Yankees aren't going to be that good this year anyway, so what's the point of keeping him around? I mean, for the ratings? And if that's what it is for, then that's pretty sad, because if you're only keeping A-Rod around for the ratings for an organization like this, it's just pathetic. It really is. It goes against everything the organization has ever stood for. It goes against everything this organization stands and was built on. So I just think this whole A-Rod thing, the whole cheating in sports thing is just as bad as you could possibly get. Because at the end of the day, when I'm sitting on my couch after a hard day, I just want to be entertained with great competition, and I just don't even want to be thinking about Am I watching something that's legitimate? At the end of the day, that's all that we want to know is this fair play? Is this a level playing field? Is everyone playing fairly? That's all we want. And if we didn't get that, it just wouldn't be the same, and we would stop watching. We really would. I think that more than anything, except for the slow pace and the way the game has changed, the cheating in baseball has really turned everyone into skeptics, because even if you're not a baseball fan and someone was trying to attract you to the game, why would you care? Because you're not going to be thinking what you're watching is legitimate. When a guy like Chris Davis comes out of nowhere and hits 50 home runs, you're not going to look at that legitimately. Well, where's he been all this time? Jose Bautista, where was he? And then he starts hitting 50 home runs back-to-back seasons. Where's this guy been the whole time? It's turned everyone into skeptics, and it's just changed the way we'll look at the sport forever. I don't think the sport can ever recover, because I don't know how many times I can say it. It's built on the numbers, and when something as fundamental as that is threatened and doesn't mean anything anymore, what's the point? I mean, the home run list doesn't mean anything anymore. The plaques in Cooperstown all those records have been mixed with cheating ones. You don't know what is and what isn't, and it just really created so many problems, and it's sad what's happened to the sport, because it's really what defined greatness in terms of sporting in this country for so long, and it's just gotten away from that so much, and it's really sad to see. But that is going to do it for this segment. Come back in a little while, stay with us, and we will be back soon.